El Nino is here, Super Nino. It affects weather patterns, and already with the fertilizer shortages, a lot of countries are on the border edge of not producing enough food. So, how's El Nino going to tip it over on the world and send us into possible famine? And populations are going to scurry so they can go find food. And see, it's been like that through history. When resources dry up to the point you can't afford it, can't get it, can't buy it, can't produce it, people just move. They used to pack up the wagons, pack up the oxen, and move to a different place. Now, why would it be any different this time around? Is our world that special now that people won't flee when there's no food available because their country couldn't grow it due to changing weather patterns, onset of the El Nino, different magnetic field shifts that are changing jet streams, and now we got energy disruptions and fertilizer disruptions. What's going to happen with these people? They're just going to leave. Where are they going to go? And they're going to disrupt everything before they go. So let's take a look how this is going to move through the rest of the year and into next year, 2027. Starting off with a possible Super El Nino. Although they keep telling you as biblical fact, it is happening. And notice across the world that this is making the news headlines. Now, normally weather events and this kind of thing, they don't make the news. This is a special set of circumstances. They're warning you something significant is coming. And it's all based on the fertilizer disruptions, energy disruptions. And here now we got all this Super El Nino. And the forecast, as you see, the average is 2.7. Some of it's up around 3.4. The numbers seem to be in agreement, somewhere around 3C, and this is a very significant event. And then suddenly the new temperature anomalies are surfacing, but this is showing 6 degrees Celsius, which is far above what was predicted for, and you saw those previous charts. And going back not even a month earlier, you can see it was only 4 degrees Celsius, which was already pretty much at the top of the range, and then it jumped from 4 to 6. So in linear time, as this thing intensifies, where does it take us? So the April sea surface temperatures at the very top, 2026. Now again, the measurements of what they had in 1982 for sea surface temperatures are quite different. There's no direct comparison because of the number of the ocean sea buoys and the satellite data and that sort of thing was not matured like it is now. So what we're seeing, take with a grain of salt, although it is salt water. But the heavy push in the media now is 1877 El Nino, 3 to 4% of the world's population starved because of weather changes. And here we are, 2026, Super El Nino. It's way bigger than the 1877 event. You better get ready. This is the messaging. You better get ready. There's no fuel. You better get ready. There's no fertilizer. You better get ready. Everything's disrupted. Get ready. We're going to strip more of your generational wealth. We're going to inflate it away. 2026, again, 1877 below. And this is the messaging, and you wonder why it is all-encompassing across every airwave now. I mean, literally, it's everywhere, all at the same time, exact same messaging. So what are they trying to tell us? Something's just coming. See, they're preconditioning us for something on the food arena and the inavailability of food, the expensive food, the inflation of food. I'm just saying it's to strip us of generational wealth, to move us into a new economy, digitized everything, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act and the stable coin. This is moving forward, and they're going to try to reset the debt using stable coins. But you're going to have to reset and completely implode the old economy to bring the new one up. And how would you do that? Like this right here. Just make the food prices so incredibly expensive that everybody's going to rely on some sort of assistance. And at that point, you can roll out the assistance through a digital means. And then you can give and supply tokens to be able to get this food, which we normally used to green piece of paper for. And then you can see how this unfolds. But it's not going to be like in a minute or two later. It's going to take a good year and a half. So as we get through the harvest season this year, at the end of the year, it'll be, oh, shortages, oh, El Nino, oh, this, oh, that, more fertilizer, oh, disruptions. But as we get into 2027, after the harvests are gone and it starts to constrict, we'll figure out that, whoa, maybe the numbers weren't as robust for the numbers hiding in the storage warehouses and grain silos across the United States and North America and Europe. And suddenly we got, just what we grew is what we get. And we don't have enough. And you can see how this can be pushed through the media. And it's just going to be this feedback loop. Ultimate end is getting you onto a new system. Modern military dominance comes down to one thing: what's in the supply chain. And right now, there's a critical gap that Washington is spending billions to close. Something the U.S. hasn't mined in nearly a decade: tungsten. The Pentagon, through the Department of Defense, has spent close to $10 million to restart domestic tungsten production, and that's not all. An additional $30 billion was announced to accelerate domestic production and secure strategic supply chains. This is where Vault Strategic Mining comes into play, trading under KNOX in Canada and KNXFF in the United States. Vault is built around a specific operating model. They acquire historic mines and use modern exploration techniques to maximize value. With a proven historic mine that operated under a defense minerals exploration contract around World War II, Vault aren't exploring for tungsten, they're revitalizing tungsten. Prices have been climbing as governments and manufacturers race to secure reliable Western supply chains outside of China, which still dominates the global market. Vault's flagship project is located in one of North America's most historically productive tungsten belts, a region the USGS estimates could hold around 168,000 tons of tungsten oxide in the ground. Today's prices, that equates to potential in situ value of roughly $30 to $50 billion, and Vault is positioned right in the middle of it. In less than 12 months, the United States has taken 5 major actions to rebuild critical mineral supply chains, including Executive Order 14231, Project Vault. The reason's simple: America's defense supply chains depend on tungsten, and the U.S. no longer mines it commercially. The Pentagon is actively funding domestic supply chains for that exact tungsten that Vault has in the ground. And thank you for Vault Strategic Mining Corporation for sponsoring today's video. You can get their latest presentation here on their website, vault-presentation.com/adapt-2030, or click on that link in the description box below. We talk about beef inflation, cattle herds at the lowest pretty much ever in the United States. I mean, you can't say ever because, as the settlers were moving out west, I mean, you can't really compare that time with this time. But traditional cattle ranching, we're down at somewhere around 80 to 90-year lows. So there's an activist that was talking, this is in England, and they were saying, hey, you guys are producing too many cows, cattle ranching here, and with sheep and whatnot, you're using too much water. And there's the activist was actually yelling at somebody in the farm field. And then the farmer's like, where's the water come from? And then they were like, what? What do you mean? It comes from the river, dude. You guys are using too much river water. And the farmer looks at him and goes, no, it comes from the sky first, which is exactly right. And the disruption in the flows of rainfall disrupt everything else, from cattle production to wheat, corn production. And then also, where's all this water going? There's now a tri-use for it. You got data centers, got the cities, and then we got just people living outside in the rural countryside. And then we got agriculture that needs it too. Humans, electrical consciousness needs it, and then farmers need it too. So where the water comes from, and it's going to be much more strictly controlled because there'll be more use of, well, I shouldn't say less. It's going to be the same amount, but it's going to be pulled in different directions. Cattle prices up, beef prices up. We're importing a huge amount of beef. I did a huge post on this on Patreon and Subscribestar earlier, talking about the beef prices, what to expect, why the farmers are ditching their herds, and where it goes from here. But it's just, in a nutshell, up. So that's everything we're buying is getting more expensive food-wise. You're going to have to protect yourself against that. And some other beauty in nature, as we see strangeness all around. I can't really explain this. Beautiful sunset, although we do see these type of clouds occasionally. Staying on the same coloration here, different angstrom. Look at our sun throwing off some, plasma ropes and displays for us. Pre-CME, gotta love it. Solar activity driving something. Because the collapse of civilizations through history, we're supposed to believe that humans created this massive temple and basalt statue to the gods with hand tools. Yeah, I don't think so. How many times have we been reset before, and maybe the history's changing on truly what was prior to us? You never know, because there's been so many resets through history. And what causes them? There's multiple resets. Every great empire that has ever been here has fallen, and we're just the only one that hasn't fallen yet. But it looks like we're getting precariously close. Food's going to do it for us. World population without synthetic nitrogen fertilizers. I did another post on this over on Patreon, Subscribestar, talking about which countries are going to be affected first and how that's going to domino down. So world population currently at 7.5 billion or so. And if you follow that middle red line, world population supported without fertilizer, 3.5 billion. That's kind of where there's going to be some wiggle room here. And the world population fed by synthetic fertilizers. So when you add those two together, it brings us to the total world population. So what does that mean? Well, with the disruption in fertilizers, even in America, we have a lot of the farmers only getting 70% of what they need to grow food. So this brings us to a real conundrum here. If these very wealthy nations can't secure their fertilizer supplies, then what's happening in these really poor countries that just get it right at the minute they're going to plant because that's all they can afford right then? There's no farm financing. They're not getting things 6 months out. So the rest of the world's going to have very, very diminished yields this year. We're scraping by, just 50-year lows in wheat. Now it's 55-year low in wheat production due to the droughts. And this is in America and the bread basket, all the way stretching way up Saskatchewan, whatever, up in Canada. Alberta wheat's crushed. You're looking all the way across the planet. Everything looks very low this year for yields. And if we can't get fertilizers on our crops, then that means there's way less crops. And you're going to follow this chart way down. So we're at 7.5. Carrying capacity is 3.5. Houston, we have a problem. And the food self-sufficiency by country, any of those reds or very dark oranges, yeah, those are going to experience this first. Now, remember the Egyptian bread riots. That was just because the price of the wheat wasn't subsidized by the government anymore. I mean, we look at this time and time again, all these different countries that go off into just complete chaotic meltdowns when they can't get food. So this is your target list here first. It's pretty easy to look at. Mongolia, I was surprised in Central Asia there, sandwiched between China and Russia. China, major grain producer, Russia, major grain producer, but sandwiched in the middle, you got nothing. That's almost insane to even think that's possible. So this is your geographical reference list on where you do not want to be right now through the next year and a half, anywhere that's really dark red there or dark orange. The lighter sort of peach colors coming into the sort of pumpkin colors, like United States at a 4 there. Brazil at a 5, a little bit more resilient. These are the countries you're going to want to focus on because they're going to be able to produce food when a lot of other places are not. Because with the food comes then the fertilizer and then the energy. So that all wraps into one nice tight package. Now, the loss of oil supplies in 2026 is the biggest since 1973. Now, I would like to look at some World War II figures because we cut off Japan's oil back in Indonesia, and that's what caused them to come attack Pearl Harbor and then the whole thing. And, the entire world was in its infancy of oil production then anyway. So it'd be a nice comparison to look World War I and World War II to see what the disruption was compared to what we're seeing here. They like to keep you on very tight timelines, but what is coming directly at us is this angry beast right here. I'm trying to sum it up truly the way this thing is charging at us. And it wouldn't be one, but it would be dozens of these bison angry and coming your way. We're gonna have to get ready for this. It's not getting ready, it's here. It's just like you're gonna have to, move through the chaos now. So do you have a plan? Do you buy in bulk for your family? I mean, do you grow your own food? Do you go buy from your farmers directly? I mean, hopefully, I've been talking about this for a couple of years now. 2 years ago, I was saying you need to go start knowing your farmer right now to get secure on those meat supplies. Buy a whole beef or a half beef, quarter beef, split it with some neighbors or something, but start getting off to your farmers and continuously buying from them on the large side of things. Like get 1,000, 1,200 pound beef cow and then have it butchered and then have it packed and go through that whole process of knowing what the whole live weight is and what the hanging weight is and what the processing cost is per pound, just so you're in that whole arena so you can talk smartly about it, interact with the farmers and get on their list because they remember you the next time you came back. Second, third time, they remember you weren't going to come back this time and go, hey, I need beef. Should have gotten with your farmers by now. If you didn't, you need to race out there this weekend and go knock on their doors and say, hey, I understand it's my first time. Do you have anything for sale on the meat side that's a live animal that I can buy? And then we can get it, butchered and packed. And, I got some friends with it and we'll take a whole animal and just see what they have. They might have lamb. They might have some sort of pigs, hogs, They might have different types of cattle you can choose from. Angus obviously is going to be your top range for that. But you got some Holsteins and stuff. They got all types of things for sale. These farmers are getting rid of their herds. It's getting expensive to hold on to them. So it's going to be probably the easiest to get a whole beef or, a half of a cow split amongst somebody else. Like if you go some to butchers, maybe you don't want a whole cow, a whole beef, and then somebody else wants half and you want half, and that's great because then you can split a whole animal up and then they'll, walk through the process of getting it packed and filling out your cut sheet and all that good stuff. You're going to need to do this now because I mark my words, another 2 months when we come into midsummer, you're not going to be able to get there anymore. They're just going to tell you, nope, we don't have any space, no room, butcher's full, we don't know who you are, and everything's gone anyway. So please get out there right quick, as they say in the South, and go visit your farmer, see what they have, because that's really going to save your life. And when a beef price is already ridiculously expensive, like if you're going out to get a whole beef or a half beef from a farmer, you'd be shocked how cheap it is comparatively to buying cuts in the supermarket. You're going to need to load your freezer up. You might need to buy a new freezer. Big whoop, $300. Go get a freezer. You can pack a bunch of stuff in it, and believe me, it's the cheapest you'll ever buy it. And the freezer is probably going to be the same price for the next few years. But the food that you can put in that freezer, and make sure it's a stand-up freezer, you get those. You can see everything that's in the shelves then at that point. Just a FYI, if you're going to buy a freezer, definitely get a stand-up, shelf freezer so you can see it, what's in there. Because if you get those chest freezers, man, stuff gets to the bottom. It's like Davy Jones' locker. It's never coming out of the bottom of that thing. So appreciate you watching. I go more into detail on things like this, mostly written posts with these slides that I explain in greater depth over on Patreon and Subscribestar. You can hit me up over there. Links in the description box below. Also, speaking of food, you're going to need to grow some of your own. My favorite seed supplier, TrueLeafMarket.com, heirloom and organic seeds for any grow zone on the planet. Experiment with what they have, different types of veg. And, I would grow higher value items like some flowers that can be turned into medicinals, medicinal teas, tobaccos, that sort of thing. But that's just the way I'm thinking versus growing lettuce. So I hope you got a few ideas out of the video. I will see you next time. Make sure you share, like, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff. But you're going to have to copy the link to share it with your friends. Because, Algo's none too kind sharing this type of info. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. I'll see you next video. Bye for now.